let's look at the heart of man. Oftentimes people will refer to the heart as just another term of the soul. I am one of those who, when it speaks of in Scripture, where sometimes it speaks about the heart of man, or the soul of man, or the mind of man, or the flesh of man, or the body of man, or whatever, those are not to be interchanged. They are not synonymous. They are different because they address different aspects of our being. The heart of man is the center of our emotions. And it is there that from our heart that drives our motivation. You know, if you ever try to do something that you're just not motivated to do, you know, they're doing it again. Oh, okay, all right. But boy, if your heart's into it, you'll do it. The same task. The only difference is the place where your heart is. Same task, different response. And therefore, it often controls our direction. It becomes almost like the rudder for the soul, the heart, which then reveals itself in the actions of the body. It can override the passions of the flesh. The heart is very powerful. That's why in Proverbs chapter 4, verse 23, we're told, keep your heart with all diligence, for out of it spring the issues of life. This is the wellspring. When we describe and look at the characteristics of man, the architecture of man, you recognize that the heart is the key element, in that everything else springs from that. The heart can guide the soul, which produces the work of the flesh, overriding the contrary desires of the flesh. Yet, characteristically, Jeremiah reminds us in Jeremiah chapter 17, verse 9, the heart is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. Who can know it? Wow. So, on the one hand, Solomon tells us in Proverbs that we need to protect our heart. But then Jeremiah comes along and says, yes, but the heart is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. Who can know it? Who's he speaking of here? Is my heart desperately wicked? The unregenerated heart by nature is wicked. That's what he's addressing here. He's talking about the heart of man, where that heart is not in the hand of God. You see, when you listen to the portrayals of the world concerning, you see it a lot in the movies, you know, you see an individual, he wants to do something, and he's the underdog, and again, going against the tide kind of thing, and the tenor will always be, just go with your heart. Well, man, who's guiding your heart? You see, if you don't have the Lord guiding your heart, then there's only one other alternative. And it's not the Lord. And therefore, that's why Jeremiah is able to say to us, hey, don't trust your heart in isolation of God's plans and purposes in your life. Don't do that. It's dangerous. Peter tells us that the heart needs to be tamed. But these, like natural brute beasts, made to be caught and destroyed, speak evil of those things they do not understand, and will utterly perish in their own corruption, and will receive the wages of unrighteousness as those who count it pleasure to carouse in daytime. They are spots and blemishes, carousing in their own deceptions. They will feast with you. Having eyes full of adultery, they cannot cease from sin, enticing unstable souls. They have a heart trained in covetous practices and are accursed children. Ooh, harsh words. But that's the ways of the world. That's what Peter is talking about. Their heart is trained in the covetousness of the world. So when the world says, follow your heart, they're encouraging you to follow your heart to destruction. But when your heart is in the hand of the Lord, you have the influence of God who will guide and direct your heart. I have had in the past people say to me, Christians, how do you know the will of the Lord in your life? It's always a key question, especially young people will come up and say, how do I know the will of the Lord? And I love to look at them and say, well, it's very simple. Love God and do what you want. And they're stunned by that. Now, that's a concatenation, a summarization of a lot of Scripture, but basically, that if your heart is with the Lord, the desires of your heart God will fulfill. So you can follow your heart. You see that within the Pauline epistles, where he talks about people, where he pours out his desire, his heart's desire is to be with you and to impart some spiritual gift, he tells the Roman church, right? Well, the way he got there, of course, was on a prison ship. But his heart's desire was to be there. He could trust his heart's desire because his heart was in the hand of the Lord. So the heart needs to be tamed, not like those of the world. It needs to be trained. Teach me your way, O Lord. I will walk in your truth. Unite my heart to fear your name. Teach me. Teach me, Lord. Make my heart be tied together with yours. Our hearts need to be pure. In the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus says, blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Proverbs chapter 2 tells us that wisdom resides in the heart. Beginning in verse 10, when wisdom enters your heart and knowledge is pleasant to your soul, discretion will preserve you, understanding will keep you. Notice the first cause. We want discretion and understanding. That's the fruit. The root is when we desire and allow wisdom to enter our heart. And knowledge is pleasant to our soul. Notice the tandem pairing there of the two aspects of the motivation and the worship aspect of who you are as an individual. How, when that is focused on the Lord, you can rely on God preserving you and giving you understanding. Proverbs 14:33 says, wisdom rests in the heart of him who has understanding, but what is in the heart of fools is made known. How important it is for us to appreciate that our heart, though unregenerated, is a dangerous thing to trust in, yet when that heart of stone is made into a heart of flesh, in the sense that it's moldable and malleable now, it's something that God can mold. It is there that then God will allow you to follow the sense of your heart because your heart is focused on the Lord.